Hey there, it's Tom Ryan, founder and CEO of iCR. Before we get into the next episode, I wanted to ask that you subscribe to the show. It'll help us get even more unique and interesting guests on the podcast and in turn continue to educate management teams and the growing ecosystem that creates value for fast-growing private and public companies. And while you're at it, head over to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star rating. Very much appreciated.
Storytelling is everything, and we're in a place right now where that engagement with the consumer, with the audience is so interactive that really is critical to be able to get that communication right.
In a digital-first world, brands face new challenges. When visibility is expected, resonance becomes the goal.
I think you have to be true to your brand DNA. And, I have kept that sort of as my mission through my career, which is do things that fuel me. So work with brands that fuel me where there's purpose and I'm passionate about them, because I think that if I'm out there and I'm working really hard for a brand, I want to believe in it.
Being a public company can be hard. Small missteps can have outsized consequences. I'm Tom Ryan, founder and CEO of iCR, and over the last 25 years, we've helped thousands of companies understand and navigate the stock market and the media. We'll demystify these and other increasingly complex stakeholder groups so you can focus on what you do best, building your company and unlocking your true potential. This is Welcome to the Arena from iCR. Not too long ago, good branding pretty much meant having a distinctive logo on your product and packaging. Today, however, it's woven into every consumer touchpoint, from social media and customer service to in-store experiences. With endless opportunities to connect, brands face a new challenge: creating a unified, authentic experience that not only stands out, but also stays true to who they are. Our guest today is helping brands build deeper, more meaningful connections with their customers, connections that can truly last. Today, we're sitting down with Kate Doerge of Kate Doerge Consulting, a dynamic business leader, brand strategist, and trusted advisor on all aspects of brand strategy and optimization across domestic and global markets. In addition to Kate Doerge Consulting, Kate is also an operating partner at Traub, a global business development, advisory, and investment firm focused on the consumer and retail industries. As an experienced brand marketing consultant, Kate champions innovation and optimizes brand performance to generate value for stakeholders and her clients, which have included L'Oreal, H&M, Kate Spade, Heuer, and Oscar de la Renta, among others. In 2015, Kate was appointed co-chair of the Board of Advisors of the Hospital for Special Surgery, and she sits on the HSS Pediatric Council. For the past 16 years, she has co-chaired HSS's largest and most successful fundraiser for the Pediatric Pavilion, raising more than $25 million to date. Kate also sits on the board and acts as a strategic advisor for the Penny Doerge Adaptive Pediatric Academy, and is co-founder and CEO of Penny's Flight Foundation, dedicated to raising awareness and funding for neurofibromatosis, launched in honor of Kate and her husband Chad's daughter Penny, who passed away from this condition in November of 2022. Let's enter the arena with Kate Doerge. Well, listen, I kind of read the words on the page, but maybe in your own words, take us through how, the twists and turns of your career and how you ended up at Traub.
Yeah, gosh. Okay, so taking us back to 1996, and I really do feel old. I graduated with an art history and Spanish major, a double major, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And, I have to say, Tom, it was
And that was okay back then.
That was okay. And actually, that's a perfect point, because I was hungry and I was driven and, I had a great academic background. And I started at the time at what was called Croft Public Relations, very small PR firm, and had an incredible experience with hands-on fashion, beauty, lifestyle accounts. And a gentleman by the name of Paul Wilmot came on the scene about 2 years after I had been there and bought majority stake of the agency. And then from there, 21 years later, I grew up at the agency. I became a partner. I was overseeing the different divisions that we had, fashion, beauty, lifestyle, accessories, did brand turnarounds. So it was an incredible runway. I went to hundreds, if not thousands, of fashion shows around the world. Got to work with celebrities and some incredible, entrepreneurs and helping them launch their businesses from the communications, brand positioning side of things. But things were changing in the business and the industry was changing, and I wanted to continue to challenge myself. And I was like, okay, I just need to keep growing. I need to make an impact in other ways. And so it was at that time that a friend had connected me with the CFO at iStar at the time. And he said, listen, we need a brand turnaround and we need someone who has a different perspective. I took the meeting and I went in and I learned more about iStar and what they were planning to do. And long story short, I took the job. I took the challenge. I wanted to dive into the deep end and try a different industry. And on the Asbury Park side, that was incredible because never had I focused on a city and brand positioning of a city and how to elevate the brand, which we did. We opened hotels. We opened Asbury Lanes, which is a music and bowling venue. So that also was a run. And then COVID hit, and all of a sudden I was like, you know what? Life is short, and I've done this. I've challenged myself, but I want to do more. And when I put out my sign for Doerge Consulting, the amount of incoming calls and past clients who were like, I want to work with you. And so when I launched, Morty Singer from Traub Consulting approached me and said, he and I had worked together back in the PR days. And he was like, why don't you just come in and talk to our team? And I did. And I thought, you know what? Why can't I do both? Why can't I have my own business as well as act as an operating partner for Traub, which is where I am today?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think, you're in business for 20 years and you're doing all this amazing stuff and your head is down. I think what you don't realize over that period is your Rolodex becomes like insane. Like you don't even know it. Well, we'll get to your firm in a minute, but in terms of Traub, tell us about that. Tell us about Marvin Traub and what are the services that you all provide and who do you provide it to?
Yeah, well, so Marvin Traub's a legend in the industry. I mean, having been chairman and CEO of Bloomingdale's for as long as he was, 25 years, he clearly made a mark in the retail consumer space. And he was such a legend because he was so creative and innovative and worldly in the sense he was inquisitive. He was always looking for the new, the exciting, the engaging opportunities in the retail space. And so I had such respect for him when I worked with him, but I think that's because of what we do here and the offering that we have for our clients. And it really is a full optimization in terms of looking at all aspects of the business. That was one thing Marvin certainly, in bringing companies to the United States, he would look at all aspects. So what's the distribution? What's the brand strategy? What's the communication? What is licensing opportunities? Looking at it from really that holistic perspective. And I think having been in the PR sort of lane for so many years and then going into marketing for iStar, it gave me a better perspective of, again, looking at sort of the whole picture of these different brands. And so that's really what brought me to Traub and got me excited about working here with the clients that we have and with the team.
And are you mostly working with private equity portfolio companies, or is it a mix of kind of everything?
It's a mix of everything. And, I think we have projects, we have retainer clients, so it keeps it interesting. But I think that on the consulting side, the clients who are coming to us are looking for, optimization. And I like to refer to it as commercial communications. So it's really looking at all aspects of their business. And, sometimes we're looking at those companies who are looking for capital. So what do they need to do in order to position themselves for a sale or for that next step?
No, that's critical. And when you got to Traub as an operating partner, do you remember a client situation that you can talk about that was like really great, where the client was open to your advice and like a nice person, but there was a big problem that needed to be solved and the outcome was awesome?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the fun sort of references or examples of that would be a company called Charleston Shoe Company. And it's a really inspiring story of a woman named Neely Powell who literally launched this company out of the back of her car, and it was shoes. And so she would do these trunk shows, and it was like one after another. And finally, she had enough money to open her first store in Charleston, and she built the business. And she's scrappy and tenacious, and she just is like a perfect entrepreneurial success story. And so she came to us, and she had, at that time, 21 stores, and she was looking to grow. And so we sat down and we looked at, again, the optimization, all aspects of her business, from her online strategy, her retail strategy, her merchandising, her marketing materials, her, ambassador program. And we spent a year and a half with Charleston Shoe, and it was such a ride, and it was so gratifying because she wanted to partner with us. And I think that's, as you know well, those are the most successful relationships, is when you really become partners and you're open to these ideas. You're open to strategic conversations and analyzing the business in all aspects. And Neely really was. And so we had a great run with her. We set her up, in terms of her retail strategy, opening new stores, her merchandising. We changed the look, the feel. So we felt like we had done the job, and we were ready to move on.
Yeah, it's such a great feeling. And when you meet someone who just has that like blinding passion, like they're not going to take no for an answer and they're going to will it to happen, it's so impressive. I love meeting people like that. It's just like a rush,
Yeah, and those are the partners you want to spend, you want to spend time with.
Totally right. So that kind of assignment, the way you described it, is obviously takes a lot of people and a lot of expertise and a big network. Maybe talk about the team at Traub, how you all complement each other, and how you kind of leverage everybody's network to kind of bring that to bear for all your clients.
Absolutely. I think that's the best thing about Traub, is the bench strength and the relationships and the experience that we bring to the table. So we have former CEOs, entrepreneurs, former CMOs, those who've done brand turnarounds, sales. And it's a really collaborative environment. So, depending on the client that we're working on, there's someone in sort of every aspect. So, for instance, my background, more marketing, communications, as I talk about the optimization there. And then we have retail rollouts. So we work in an open space environment, and we're constantly sharing information and experience. And it's one of the things and reasons why, when Morty approached me to have the conversation about joining Traub, that after launching my own thing, I thought, you know what, I am a team player. I love the collaboration. That's really sort of my DNA. And so that's what you find here, is that we're a small team, but because we have years and years of experience in these different industries and doing these different things, we bring all of that to the table.
Developing a brand rollout strategy is one thing. Getting the entire team aligned around a unified story is an entirely different animal. I wanted to learn how Kate weaves storytelling into each aspect of a business strategy and why timing is critical in making sure the message hits home.
I mean, we know storytelling is everything, and that's brand positioning. And that's, we're in a place right now where that engagement with the consumer, with the audience is so interactive that it really is critical to be able to get that communication right. So we never fast track it. We're really smart, I think, and focused in terms of what that messaging is going to be and the timing and the cadence of that messaging. It's putting together the strategy, but then working as a team across all platforms, especially with social media and with communications, media coverage, press releases, website, you name it. There's just so much that needs to be aligned. So I think that's one of our biggest focuses, is really that strategy and that timeline and the implementation.
Yeah. And, when you and I started our careers, you walked into the store and you bought something, and now you've got this whole digital age, omni-channel retail. What's the biggest challenge that you're seeing right now for brands in the digital age?
Well, I think this goes back to Marvin, in terms of innovation and, creativity and engaging the consumer. You think about, that Gen Z generation. They're traveling. They have these social experiences, certainly coming out of COVID. People want to be engaged and they want to be present. So when you're walking into any retail store nowadays, you have to engage the consumer. So it's physical retail as well as online. So how are you doing that? What is the ROI on that? We have so much more access to data now than we ever did before. So how are we using that data to implement new strategies to constantly be innovating and engaging the consumer?
How do you personally stay current with everything that's going on? I always felt like when I was in my 20s starting my career, you're on the pulse of everything because you're kind of growing up in it. And now when, you're a little bit more experienced, shall I say, how do you stay on top of the trends and the innovation and different things that are coming? Because there's all kinds of innovative and crazy stuff going on, right?
Yeah, no, there's so much, and it's coming at you fast and furious. I'm fortunate. I have a almost 21-year-old son, and I have a 14-year-old son. So I think they bring a lot of youth to me. I feel like I'm learning every day from them, and also from the team. So I like to surround myself with younger individuals. So those who are right out of college, I'm constantly asking questions. What are you seeing? What are you learning? What are you doing on TikTok to social media channels? I think staying connected with these younger generations and learning and seeing what they're doing and surrounding ourselves with them at work as well, because it's really important to hear their feedback.
Is there a brand out there that you greatly admire that you've never worked with and would love to?
I was just saying this, actually, it comes full circle. On our Safari podcast, which I'm can't wait to get you in this reverse seat here. I had interviewed an old friend of mine who we launched his company, Roan Athletics. I don't know if you're familiar with Roan.
Sure.
So Nate Chekas, who's a great guy. And I had worked on his PR strategy and launching the brand. And he and I just had a conversation on Safari, and it's been such fun to see where the business is now. And I would love to continue to work with him on sort of this next stage as he continues to grow the brand. So I respect what he is doing. I wear this Whoop. I don't know if you've heard of the Whoop.
Yep.
So I'm a big fan, Will Ahmed's, and would love to work with Whoop. But so many of the individuals that I worked with in the space years ago have gone on to launch, different companies. And Alpin Beauty is another one. Kendra Butler, who used to work for us at the PR agency, has launched this beauty brand. And I'm really inspired by what she's doing, clean beauty.
The best brands it just happens organically, right? And then kind of to our earlier conversation about being up to date on what's new and what's innovative, how do you kind of pivot? And I don't want to say inauthentically move to what's popular, but how do you veer towards that while remaining authentic to the brand, right? Because I would imagine some brands out there, they try and chase something and it's kind of damaging, right?
I mean, absolutely. I think you have to be true to your brand DNA, and that's with everything we do, right? And I have kept that sort of as my mission through my career, which is do things that fuel me. So work with brands that fuel me where there's purpose and I'm passionate about them, because I think that even with the brands, if they're chasing, it's never going to feel authentic to the consumer. When I work with brands, I want it to feel authentic to me too. If I'm out there and I'm working really hard for a brand, I want to believe in it.
Do you think that entrepreneurs who just kind of catch lightning in a bottle with their brand and it's authentic and organic and all that, and then they go to a consultant and there's all kinds of we're going to map this out and it's all PowerPoints and stuff, do they resist that, or do they just tend to have great gut instincts to be yep, totally get it, this is where we need to go with this to get to the next level?
Listen, I think it completely depends on the entrepreneur, and I've seen it in both ways. I think the beauty of what we're doing here is, as I said, we're partnering with those entrepreneurs. So we're not coming in with this heavy hand to say, you don't know what you don't know, and here it is. It's more of an education process. And from what we've seen, our experience in the industry, the data that we're seeing, this is the direction we feel you should be going in. And if the entrepreneur doesn't align, then that's not necessarily someone we want to work with, because we're going to be fighting that uphill battle the whole way. So it goes back to the greatest partners are the ones who you truly have a partnership. They see
They get it.
Your experience, they get it, they're ready to go.
Yeah, totally. Talk about Kate Doerge Consulting, and how does it dovetail with what you do at Traub?
Kate Doerge Consulting really was born out of, again, this idea of working with private equity and VCs, and they don't know what they don't know. And so I would be able to oversee and help them with their consumer portfolios and doing turnarounds. And so I've had so much fun in that space. I think the dovetail into Traub is the learnings. So the learnings that I receive as I talk about the team that I'm working with here and how I could bring that to smaller clients that I have on Kate Doerge Consulting. And with Traub, it really is these larger clients. I've been trying to do the balance. I probably have been spending more time with Traub. And as I said, I'm a team player. I love the collaboration. So it's sort of the best of both worlds.
Yeah. And I know the services you offer there are probably similar to what you do at Traub: brand transformation, organizational transformation, executive profile building. Is it the best assignment when they kind of just put themselves in your hands and say, look, this is a holistic thing. We're doing all of this, regardless of what you call it, right? We're just kind of doing all of this together to bring you to the next level.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the fun of it, right? We've been in the industry for a long time. We have the experience. So to be able to sit down and partner with one of these clients and looking at all aspects of the business, we set the strategy and we set, as we said, this roadmap of what they need to do. So I love nothing more than being able to sit down with a new client, being given a problem, and then coming up with that solution together and then executing. It's really gratifying, at the end of the day, to see the needle move and the impact that the work and the strategy that we've put together has on a company.
Yeah. Do you miss going to fashion shows all over the world and hobnobbing with glasses of champagne in your hand?
Listen, it sounds much more glamorous than it was. There's a lot of times that I was, running from show to show in the rain and, all of that.
Sounds glamorous anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It was glamorous.
Talk about your philanthropic work. You're obviously very involved and doing amazing work. Take us through what you're doing and how people can learn more about it.
Throughout my whole career, I've always wanted to make an impact. And when I talk about, doing that for clients, through my earlier years, it almost felt like I was preparing myself for the big boom. And so when our daughter, who was 4 months old at the time, rolled off my husband and I's bed and she fractured her tibia bone, we raced up to hospital for special surgery. Yep. And it was at that time that they diagnosed Penny with a congenital pseudarthrosis, which was a very rare bone condition. This is under, unfortunately, this umbrella of what's called neurofibromatosis. Again, a very common genetic condition, but very unknown because you can have a multitude of symptoms. And their doctor said, you know what, this is going to be a long haul for you. Let's focus on the leg. Penny proceeded to have 7 leg surgeries over the course of her life. And it was during that time that I had spent so much time at hospital for special surgery. And I immediately wanted to give back. And I wanted to support the hospital that was doing so much for us, for Penny, for our family. And I knew I had the ability. So coming from the world of communications, PR, marketing, I recognized that I could bring a lot of those skills to fundraising and the incredible work they were doing in the pediatric department of HSS. So I went headfirst into that, and as you mentioned, launched the pediatric fundraiser. I was co-chairing that for 16 years, raised, millions of dollars. So all of that aside was really sort of building the foundation for my biggest purpose in life, which is the most recent. It'll be 2 years, December 9th, that we launched a foundation after our daughter passed away. from a glioblastoma that was created from this neurofibromatosis. And when Penny passed away, my husband and I looked at each other and we were like, because she had never been defined by this diagnosis. She lived the most big, beautiful, bright, happy life. And we just looked at each other and we're like, okay, we got to do something. So we had never focused on neurofibromatosis, but as I said, 1 out of 2,000 kids are diagnosed on an annual basis with NF.
That's staggering.
Staggering. It is the most common genetic condition in the United States. However, it's the most underfunded. So for us, we immediately, again, recognized with our background and our experience, mine in marketing, PR, branding, my husband's in finance, that we had to do something and that we wanted to give back and we wanted to make a difference. So we launched Penny's Flight Foundation, and that was in the fall, again, December 2022, to raise awareness and funds for neurofibromatosis and also spread Penny's beautiful story of finding beauty in imperfection, positivity in the face of challenge, and having faith over fear. So fast forward 2 years, we've almost raised $5 million.
That's incredible.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
But you know what, Tom, it goes back to what we were saying earlier. You never burn a bridge, because what I have recognized is our community, our friends, our family, all these clients of mine who've risen up and want to support and they want to give back. And it's just been the most beautiful thing to witness this swell of support and how everyone's on board to turn pain into purpose and make a difference.
With countless choices at their fingertips, today's consumers look for clarity and brands they can trust. Kate is helping brands cut through the noise by uniting teams, aligning messaging, and grounding every interaction and experience in authenticity. The result? Brands that don't just stand out, they truly resonate. At Welcome to the Arena from ICR, we're working really hard to bring you exciting guests and great content. If you found this episode insightful, please subscribe to the show on your podcast app and leave us a 5-star rating. The more the show grows, the more interesting voices we can have on the podcast, and in turn, that should demystify a lot of the stakeholders around public companies and soon-to-be public companies. Thank you so much for listening. A big thank you to Kate Doerge for joining me on the show today. She's doing incredible work with the brand she partners with, but even more inspiring is the way she's making meaningful change in the world through her philanthropy. She's just a really impressive person all around, and we look forward to keeping in touch with her down the road. This is Tom Ryan. We'll see you next time back in the arena.
References to specific stocks are not intended to be recommendations for specific trading behavior. Comments presented on this podcast are intended for informational and educational purposes only, and do not represent opinions or recommendations on whether to buy, sell, or hold shares of a particular stock. All investors are advised to conduct their own independent research into individual stocks before making a trading decision. In addition, investors are advised that past stock performance is no guarantee of future price performance.